Hello, everyone. We are going to be watching a Jonathan McIntosh video that I skipped over. I was thinking of doing it, wasn't sure if I wanted to. Now I want to, so let's watch it. It's called Donald Trump, Lovable Sitcom Misogynist. So we gotta watch this, because Jonathan McIntosh thinks Trump won the election because he's a misogynist. I think he won because he said a lot of things that people wanted to hear, and they voted for the candidate that they wanted to vote for. I'm not a Trump supporter myself, but I really don't think Trump won for dumb reasons like that. I think some people who voted for Trump voted for dumb reasons out of spite, that kind of shit. I'm sure there are sexist people and racist people bigoted people who voted for Trump, but I don't think that's all of Trump supporters. I don't think that's a issue with all of them. I do think that a lot of people voted for him because they thought that he was the better candidate. And look, if you genuinely voted for him, I'm not saying that you're part of this issue, or I'm not calling you a bigot if you voted for him genuinely. If you voted for Trump genuinely with genuine reasons and all this kind of stuff, you genuinely believe him to be a good president, that's your thing, man. That's on you. I really thought we had a shitty election between two terrible candidates, but it is what it is. Trump's our president.
I don't want to sound too much like a chauvinist, but when I come home and dinner's not ready, I go through the roof, okay?
Donald Trump's misogyny is obvious. It's part of his brand. It's one of the reasons why he's so famous in the first place. And I'd argue that nearly everybody already knows it.
Yeah, he's famous because he's a misogynist, not because he's a businessman who's rich, is able to have failing businesses and still be successful. Yeah, that can't be why he's famous. It's because he hates women, even though he married one and had a few kids. But I guess he did that because gender roles, right, guys?
But while some perceive Trump's sexism as horrifying or dangerous, millions of others don't really think it's that big of a deal. It's the difference between seeing Trump like this versus something more like this.
Fire her, and don't ever make me talk to a woman that old again.
And that rather stark difference in
I'm not a fan of Trump. I personally don't think he's going to be a great president. I don't agree with a lot of his stuff that he's been doing, but it is what it is. I don't think he's the guy from Mad Max. I think that's a very dumb, extreme comparison. I think he's more of just one of those corporate fat cats that just likes money. That kind of stuff. I don't think we're gonna be in a post-apocalyptic world because we voted Trump. I think, worst comes to worst, you might have some crazy taxes going on, but we'll have to see. We'll have to see what happens. I think we're gonna still be on this planet after these 4 years. Just saying.
Perspective is, I think, at the heart of why Trump's sexism didn't derail his bid for the White House in the way that most political pundits predicted that it would. Now, we'll return to our friend Jack from 30 Rock in a moment.
We have a chance to make this country great again.
But first, we have to talk about how the next president of the United States views women.
I see. So you treat women...
The reason why misogyny did not matter in the election is, get this, I know, crazy idea, guys. Fucking sit down and let me blow your minds. They voted for him because they cared about his political platform. His misogyny, his rape accusations, all that isn't very political. It can deter people, sure. It can deter people from voting for him, sure. Fine. But some people might not care because they're like, well, I'm voting for a politician. I'm not voting for the representative of women's rights. You know, like, they're voting for a president. They're not voting for, like, the face of, like, women out there or something. I mean, that's why he won. That's why people voted for him. And now, you know, people say, oh, he won because of Russia or, you know, this and that. I think this whole Russian hacking nonsense, I don't think has anything to do with the election. At most, I could see maybe Russia supported his campaign in a way, but I don't think that Russia hacked our election. Just saying.
With respect.
I can't say that either.
All right, good, all right.
It's not an exaggeration to say that Donald Trump sees women as pieces of meat who primarily exist for male pleasure or as trophies to elevate men's social status. This mentality even extends to his own daughters.
I've said that if Ivanka weren't my daughter, perhaps I'd be dating her. You know.
That is the weirdest.
Projects
That is the weirdest thing. I'm sorry, but you cannot tell me, oh, that's a normal thing to say. I mean, it's fine to say, like, oh, my kids are, you know, good looking, they're this and that. But that's a different thing to say that you date your daughter if they're not related. So let's pretend, guys, Ivanka wasn't a blood related to Trump, and she was his stepdaughter. Let's assume that. It sounds weird, doesn't it? I mean, I'm not saying that, oh, I think a lot of people jumped on the whole, like, oh, Trump incest thing a little too soon, or a little too much, but it's a weird statement is all. That's all it is. It's just weird, it's creepy, it's like, what the fuck? But it's not like he supports incest. I think that's a little crazy.
Casual disregard for the idea of consent.
I'll go backstage before a show.
Yes.
And everyone's getting dressed and ready. And I'm allowed to go in because I'm the owner of the pageant, and therefore I'm inspecting it. Is everyone okay? You know, they're standing there with no clothes. Is everybody okay? And you see these incredible-looking women. And so I sort of get away with things like that.
She was one of the most beautiful women I had ever seen. It was incredible.
This is a man who incessantly links the inherent worth of women to their physical appearance and to little else.
Now, all of a sudden, she's gained. I mean, literally, she went up from about 118 to about 170 pounds. It was incredible.
Well, obviously, it's great outer beauty. I mean, we could say politically correct that the look doesn't matter, but the look obviously matters. Like you wouldn't have your job if you weren't beautiful.
All of this
In a way, he is right about that, because the thing is that, as much as we don't want to admit it, we are shallow. We are very shallow beings. I'm not saying that, you know, we operate just purely on looks, but looks are a selling point. But at the same time, though, that's why you see a lot of people get divorced when it's just based on looks. You know, usually those kind of relationships kind of fall apart because there's no substance. Because not only looks doesn't really matter, but it does catch your attention, and it is like, oh wow, like she looks cute, okay, whatever. But usually, you know, that might trigger you to talk to them. But if, well, let's say that you meet a very cute girl or a cute boy, whatever, whichever floats your boat, you see a cute partner, and you're like, oh man, I want to get to know him, I want to get to know her, whatever. You get to know that person, and then finds out that person's an asshole. Are you gonna stick around an asshole because, oh well, they look good? No, you're gonna fucking get the fuck out of there. You're not gonna stick around for that. So yeah, people are generally shallow. People have different tastes and looks, but you know, usually personality usually is what sells or seals the deal. It's just looks matter in the sense that you want to present yourself nice. Like, are you gonna go to a bar and look like a slob and be like, oh, I want to get all the girls if I just, you know, am overweight, I don't gel my hair, I don't put deodorant, I don't shave, I do all this stuff, I should get all the ladies, right? No, they're gonna fucking not want anything to do with you. That's why a lot of people, when they go to a bar, or if they're trying to find a significant other, they try to present themselves nice, because they want to look good.
Is again obvious and uncontroversial. So what's going on in our culture when a man can say things like this?
You know, I'm automatically attracted to beautiful. I just start kissing them. It's like a magnet. You just kiss. I don't even wait. And when you're a star, they let you do it. You can do anything. Grab them by the pussy. You can do anything.
And then millions of Americans, both men and
But honestly,
women...
the thing though is that was he being serious with that? And the thing is that I thought that apology about that whole tape thing was the most phoned in thing I've ever heard. I really don't know why they even bothered, because I think that kind of apology is worse than no apology at all, because it's like, he was like literally on the news like, I said bad things, and I'm sorry for saying these things. See you in the election. Like, it just didn't sound genuine to me. And I would have much... It was just like, I almost would rather have not apologize. Because if he's going to give a half-assed apology like that, I would just much rather have no apology. But that's just my opinion.
just shrug it off and support him anyway. Now, I don't think the 60 million people who voted for Donald Trump did so because they agree with his sexist behavior, at least not consciously. Sure, some certainly do, but the vast majority don't. Most people are not internet trolls. During the 2016 election cycle, we saw dozens of Republican leaders trying to distance themselves from Trump's misogyny. Yet, for most of them, it still wasn't a deal breaker. So we have to ask why. Why wasn't such blatant and unashamed misogyny?
Because the thing is, the reason why Trump was like the standout candidate is because we have been listening to nothing but, and I think this is kind of dumb as well. It's there, but it's like I can at least see where it's coming from. This whole thing of being shoved down our throats of like, we need diversity, we need representation of all these things and this and that, and to see a person like Trump who's unapologetically anti-PC and all this stuff, you know, it was like it was a like huge deal for it, because like it's just that, you know, I feel that this SJW movement has gotten more spotlight than it deserves. Because the thing that sucks that kind of triggers me is that I'll use Ghost in the Shell as an example, okay? That movie came, everyone was yelling about whitewashing. Oh, you know, this and that. I just thought, okay, they just had Scarlett Johansson because she's a good actress. Maybe that's why they wanted to cast her or whatever. Then I hear at the end that they try to make her being white a plot point. Like, oh, well, really, spoiler, by the way. Oh, she is she's not the real character. She's like a fake body, whatever, this and that. And I was just like, what? Like, to me, it's like, if you're gonna do that, at least stick with it and just kind of own it. That ending felt last minute and just kind of like, people are upset, guys. I got it. We'll please these people by saying that it's part of the story, so that way it makes sense. Yes, and it was like the last thing that they filmed, and they put it in the movie, and they shipped it. And that's what I didn't like. I thought that alone was more offensive than it being whitewashed, because it insulted intelligence. It insulted my intelligence for me to be like, what?
A deal breaker.
But whatever.
The answer, I'd argue, has a lot to do with the ways that our culture normalizes sexism.
No, it's not because of that. It's because people kept yelling at people for all these things. But like, oh, I was gonna say, like, every time I would, if I were to say like, oh, I think, you know, I don't like the new Ghostbusters movie. I didn't like that movie at all. I just don't think it was as bad. I don't think that the Ghostbusters being women was why the movie was bad. I really don't think that was the reason why that. Like, that to me made no sense. It's like, why would a gender matter? Like, if the movie if you kept the movie intact, let's say the movie was 100% the same, and you replace the female cast with men, would the movie be better? No. Like, I'm not saying that, oh, well, get funnier people. I'm saying, like, if they had the same exact dialogue, the same exact script, the same exact story, everything, would the movie be better? No, it wouldn't. It would still be the same shitty movie, just with men. Like, the whole, so, like, if I were to say that, like, oh, you're just an SJW saying that, like, oh, it's not that bad because it's this and that. No, I think it's dumb saying a movie is bad because they're women. The reason why Ghostbusters is a bad movie, I would argue that Suicide Squad is far worse, because at least with Ghostbusters, as shitty as it is, at least it had a coherent narrative. It might not have been the best narrative, the villain was not well developed, all that kind of stuff, but if you look at Suicide Squad, the movie was a fucking headache. Things were just cut together, nothing was developed, the villain didn't have a name, shit just happened, and there you go, that's the movie. In Ghostbusters, it's like, okay, well, there's these ghosts in New York, these 4 women try to stop the ghosts, this one guy wants to get all this ghost power or whatever, and they stop him. See how that's more coherent than, well, in Suicide Squad, you have Will Smith, he is a sniper, you have all these bad guys, and they're forced to fight for good, but they don't want to fight for good, but they fight for good. Then they fight a guy, this woman who was on our team. The Joker was in it for 7 minutes. Queen. They played a Queen song. Suicide Squad was terrible. But, like, so if you were to try to defend, like, diversity, you're gonna call it SJW. If you say, oh, well, they should have, like, more representation of this, you're called an SJW. But the thing is that makes SJWs annoying is when they say everything is sexist or this and that. Like, I don't have a problem with video games. I don't have a problem with anime. I don't have a problem with all this shit being with sexual content, whatever. I didn't care about fucking Quiet. But if someone says, I don't like it because of this, that's one thing. But saying, we need to change this because of this, that's where we should draw the line. And that's what a lot of people don't like.
In a logical sense, normalization is the process by which a particular attitude, ideology, or behavior becomes established and entrenched in social life. It's the cultural process through which we come to expect and accept something as natural and as, well, normal. The cultural process of normalization is, of course, multifaceted. It operates within many different institutions simultaneously, in families and schools, in workplaces and churches, in government and entertainment.
Ladies and gentlemen, Donald Trump.
But it's that last one, entertainment, that I want to focus on here. On the ways in which mass media frames misogyny and sexism, because, as Bell Hooks says, pop culture is where the pedagogy is. It's where the learning is happening. Donald Trump is a reality
I learned a lot
TV
from
star.
TV guys.
He is, first and foremost, an entertainer. He revels in making a spectacle of himself in a society that rewards him with endless media attention
Nice set of hair, I'll say that.
for his outlandish behavior. It's clear to me that Donald Trump is always performing, always putting on a show for an audience, and his overt sexism is an important part of that performance.
We get along very well, and there's not a lot of disagreement because ultimately Ivana does exactly as I tell her to do.
See, wait a minute.
Male chauvinist.
Right, men? Is that right? Huh?
In fact, Trump's brand of misogyny.
But like, he clearly like was joking there though. Like, I don't think that was genuine or serious. Like, he fucking said, "Is that right, man?" Like, did that sound like he was being serious? Like, I don't know. I would assume that it was a joke.
is so unapologetically over the top that it feels very much like a television caricature.
Maybe I could help her realize some other life goal, to become a doctor's nurse or a lawyer's mistress, or even the president of the United States Shopping Association. I want you to get better because, and I mean this, I'm tired of talking this much to a woman I'm not having sex with.
This lovable misogynist archetype is found everywhere in pop culture.
That's right, Barney Stinson is back on the market. Mothers, lock up your daughters. Ted, the only reason to wait a month for sex is if the girl is 17 years, 11 months old.
You have been sexually harassing me since the very first day of class.
Sexually harassing? What? That makes no sense to me. Why would I harass somebody who turns me on?
There's the house. I found America's...
By the way, Chevy Chase is an old man in that show, and he's not meant to be likable. He's an asshole to people.
Models!
Oh, this show sucks. Terrible show. Fuck this show. Terrible show. This show can rot in hell. Fuck this show. Cancel it. NBC, CBS, cancel it. End it. End this existence of a shitty show.
The thing about Jack Donaghy from 30 Rock and the many other characters just like him is that everybody knows they're sexist. The characters know it, the show knows it, the audience knows it. Across the board, these characters engage in outlandishly sexist and sometimes downright misogynist behaviors.
What did I do?
You don't know? Oh, you poor dear. Your ovaries are squirting so much goofy juice into your brains you don't even know which way is up.
Guys, it's funny because Sheldon is a nerd, and he's socially awkward because he's a nerd, guys. So Big Bang Theory is so funny. I can't. Man, fucking Dave Chappelle, quit your job. Don't be a comedian ever again. Trailer Park Boys, terrible show. Arrested Development, shitty show. Big Bang Theory, classic. Sheldon's a nerd, doesn't hang out with women, and he says things like this because he's a nerd, guys. Big Bang Theory is the pinnacle of comedy, guys. Let me tell you why Big Bang Theory is so good. No, fuck that show, guys. If you like Big Bang Theory, you have shit taste. I'm not even apologizing for that. You have terrible taste if you like Big Bang Theory. So...
Dancer with the tattoos, which is the crazy sex trifecta.
Wide-eyed farm girl would get off the bus with big dreams of Broadway, and no idea what a casting director could legally ask her to do, hold, or lick during an audition.
But at the end of the day, they're still framed as lovable, well-meaning guys.
An amazing guy. He's fun, one of my best friends, and he landed this hottie. He's a good guy.
By the end of each episode, all has been forgiven again, but no life lessons have really been learned.
And it is on.
For these characters, sexism is never presented as serious enough to permanently jeopardize their friendships, or their relationships, or their jobs.
It's a TV show, John. No one learns from TV.
In other words, it's not a deal breaker. This is one of the ways that our culture works to normalize sexist behavior. Not by denying that it's sexist, but by acknowledging it, and then framing it as mostly harmless.
Hey, for the record, what you guys are doing is really creepy.
You know what? If it's creepy,
guys,
the internet,
nerds,
military satellites, and robot aircraft to find a house full of gorgeous young models so that I can drop in on them unexpectedly, then fine, I'm creepy.
Guys, it's funny because they're nerds. He said a lot of like nerd things, guys. It's funny because they're socially awkward. They don't know what they're doing is wrong because they're nerds, guys. Big Bang Theory is so funny. Bazingo!
It's a younger man's game, Lemon. But I can't say that I don't miss it. You'd be in your office late at night. The new girl would come in with some flimsy excuse to be there. Oh, Mr. Donaghy, I forgot to give you the factory worker death rates. And she'd laugh at your lame joke, touch of the arm. And you take your reward.
Now, to be clear, I don't believe the writers and producers of this media are intending to help normalize sexism. I think they clearly intend to satirize it. But when misogyny is consistently framed as a lighthearted joke, it signals to viewers that sexism isn't something all that serious. I'd argue that this provides us with a clue as to why Donald Trump's misogyny isn't taken seriously either. If we add a laugh track after Trump's statements about women, he becomes virtually indistinguishable from another TV sitcom character.
I don't want to sound too much like a chauvinist, but when I come home and dinner's not ready, I go through the roof.
But in all honesty, we don't need to add a laugh track because Trump's audience provides one for him already.
And he referred to my hands. If they're small, something else must be small. I guarantee you there's no problem. I guarantee it. All right. Okay.
Just like a TV show. I think we have to face the hard truth that for millions of people, Donald Trump's sexism is not seen as harmful because it's seen as just more entertainment. Trump excels at exploiting a media landscape where misogyny is framed as just guys being guys, and as something that doesn't make those guys dangerous or scary. When Trump or his surrogates are occasionally forced to respond to his most egregious sexism, they do it like this.
This was locker room talk.
Notice that statements about locker room talk are not a denial of sexism. They're an excuse for it. They're an acknowledgement that yes, Trump's statements may be sexist, but it's mostly harmless. It's just not that big of a deal. But of course, misogyny is that big of a deal. Misogyny is dangerous, especially to women, on both an interpersonal and a public policy level. And Trump's presidency promises to bring with it an attack on women's reproductive rights and a dismantling of protections against gender-based discrimination.
Do you believe in punishment for abortion? Yes or no, as a principle?
The answer is that there has to be some form of punishment.
For the woman?
Yeah.
Well, he's probably pro-life. A lot of pro-life people see abortion as murder. So, what do you do when someone commits murder? You punish them. Now, personally, I am a pro-choice person because because honestly, if you don't agree with abortions, you're not gonna go get them. Simple as that. I really don't care about other people's lives that much. If a woman wants to get an abortion, well, if you make abortions illegal, guess where she's going to be going? She's going to be going to a back alley and getting an abortion, and then, this and that. And it's I would much rather have people go through, like, a very sterile way of doing it instead of going this. And people might say, like, well, they need to be more responsible with sex and this and that, but what about rape victims? If you're gonna make abortions illegal, then you're punishing rape victims for being raped. I know that's like kind of extreme fucking like thing right there, but the thing is that personally I'm pro-choice. If you're pro-life, that's fine, I'll respect your opinion. I'm just saying I could see why Trump would say he thinks women who get abortions should get punished in a way. He clearly doesn't want them to get the death penalty. That was clear. He said he should get punished. They should get punished in some way. I'm more willing to believe that he thinks that they should get punished financially, probably in that regard, or that they can't. The insurance companies are not going to insure it or whatever. I can understand in that way. I don't think Trump wants to impose a death penalty to these people. And that's probably why he said that. He's not saying he's like. He did not come to that conclusion because he hates women. He said that because he doesn't like abortion. There you go. That's why he said that. To me, I think abortion should be legal up to a point before the fetus is viable. I think it's the third trimester. Someone might have to correct me if I'm wrong. I think it's the third trimester is when the fetus can be viable. I think anytime before that should be okay to be aborted. But not when when there's a fetus or whatever. Like there's some period I've seen people talk about it, and I agree with that. I think that abortion should have a grace period. After a certain amount of days, you can't abort it. Because I think by the time that it becomes to that point, you're going to decide if you want the baby or not. Because if you really want to abort the fetus, you're going to abort the fetus right away. If you're unsure, you have time to think about it. But if it's over that day, you're probably going to want to have the baby. That's how I feel about it. I'm sure people are going to disagree. It's a very touchy subject, in my opinion. But I can see both sides. I can see where both sides are coming from. I can see why people want pro-choice. I can see why people are pro-life. I just think that making it illegal is not a good solution.
The important thing to understand is that Trump and his brand of toxic masculinity do not exist in a vacuum. He doesn't exist separate and apart from the world that you and I inhabit. His rise comes in part because we have failed to challenge a culture that tolerates sexist behaviors even while acknowledging that they exist. Donald J. Trump might be a misogynist, but in a society that reduces sexism to a joke, he's widely seen as a lovable one.
I wouldn't say he's lovable, but whatever.
Everybody! I'll do it as well. Donald Trump, everybody!
So if you enjoyed that video, please consider sharing it. You can also go over to my Patreon page right here.
Again, I don't think Trump won because he's sexist. I don't think it mattered to the voters who voted for him because they probably voted for him because of his political beliefs. That's probably why he won. Well, that's it for this video. Thank you for watching. See you in the next one.